Hello, and thank you for being here at Compelled to Impact. Today, we're going to talk about the whisper, learning to hear yourself again. Have you ever wished that God or the God energy in your life would just make your path obvious? Maybe you've prayed, please just tell me what to do. You've asked for a sign, you wait for clarity, you hope for some undeniable answer that removes every doubt. Yet, the answer never seems as loud as you hoped. Here's what I've discovered through my own life and through working with many people on their healing journey. Most people expect the answer to be shouted or an email, but it usually comes as a whisper. The whisper might arrive as a thought that keeps returning, a conversation that unexpectedly stirs something inside you, a dream that refuses to leave your heart. It might be a deep sense that you're supposed to reach out to someone, an unexpected piece about a difficult decision, or even a growing discomfort that tells you something in your life is no longer fitting the person that you are becoming. It might be something that fits the person that you were. The challenge isn't that guidance isn't speaking. The challenge is that our lives have become so noisy that we've forgotten how to listen, not just to God's spirit, but also to ourselves. One of the greatest losses that happens through years of surviving is that we slowly disconnect from our own inner knowing. We spend decades responding to everyone else's expectations. We get so good at reading everyone else's emotions that we stop recognizing our own. Somewhere along the way, we stop asking, what do I actually feel? What do I really desire? What is my spirit trying to tell me? Instead, we begin to ask, what should I do? What will everyone else think? What happens if I make the wrong choice? This isn't wisdom. That's fear trying to protect you. Fear is loud and a little chaotic. Love is quiet. The things that we do need to ask are those first three questions. What do I feel? Where am I feeling connected? What do I desire? And what is my spirit trying to tell me? Fear demands immediate answers. Love patiently invites you into deeper understanding. Fear says, hurry before you miss your chance. Be the first on your block. Don't let Mr. Jones get more than you. You might hear in your spirit, walk with me. That's it. There's a profound difference. And we've learned to listen to the chaotic things, to the things that require us to make a choice right now, rather than the peaceful choice of walking, not necessarily physically, metaphorically, walking through the thoughts and the feelings and the desires that you have. One reason you struggle to hear spiritual guidance is because your nervous system is constantly activated. When you're anxious, your brain searches for danger because that's what it's used to seeing. That's what it knows. And it's there to protect you. So it's looking for danger so that it can protect you from that danger. When you're overwhelmed, your attention narrows. When you're exhausted, everything feels urgent. Your body becomes so focused on survival instead of discernment. In survival mode, every decision feels like life or death. Every opportunity feels like pressure. Every uncertainty feels like failure. It's incredibly difficult to hear the gentle voice of wisdom when your entire system believes it's under attack. This is why spiritual alignment isn't only a spiritual practice, it's also a physical one. As your nervous system becomes more regulated, your mind becomes clearer, your emotions become steadier, your heart becomes more receptive. And suddenly you begin noticing guidance that was there all along. There's a verse that says you already have everything inside you to live a fully joyful and holy life, rising above. I've often told my clients that God doesn't usually compete with chaos. He waits quietly for an invitation. Think about Elijah in scripture. God wasn't found in the wind. He wasn't found in the earthquake. He wasn't found in the fire. He came in a gentle whisper. I think that's because whispers require a relationship. They require the exchange of listening. A whisper draws you closer. It slows you down. It teaches you dependence instead of performance. And maybe that's exactly what God has wanted to do all along. When my kids were younger, if they were doing something they shouldn't be doing, um, I wouldn't yell at them. I would call their name and I'd say, "Come here, I want to talk to you." And I would talk to them like this because I knew they had to focus on what I was saying and not be distracted by everything outside of them. And then I'd send them on their way to change what they thought, change what they were doing, to really think about that thing. Anyway, one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is creating intentional moments of silence. Not because silence earns anyone's approval, but because silence makes room for awareness. Maybe it's 10 quiet minutes before you look at your phone in the morning. Maybe it's sitting outside with your coffee or whatever you're drinking. Maybe it's taking a walk without earbuds. It could be journaling after your quiet time instead of rushing into your day. These small moments become sacred spaces where clarity begins to rise, not because you're forcing answers, but because you're finally available to receive them. I've also learned that God's guidance rarely arrives with the entire blueprint. Usually you receive enough light for the next faithful step, and then it requires faith. We want the whole map, but we are all often just given the next doorway or the next stepping stone. We want certainty, but God invites trust. That can feel frustrating. Looking back over my own life, I realized that if I had known every challenge ahead, I probably wouldn't have had the courage to begin or keep going. Not always, but sometimes. Instead, I was given enough wisdom for one step, then another and another. Faith is not knowing the entire journey. Faith is trusting that the one who walks with you um, will be there through the whole journey. So if you've been wondering whether you're on the right path, if you've been waiting for some dramatic confirmation, perhaps today isn't about receiving a louder answer. Maybe it's about becoming a quieter listener, because the answers you're seeking often emerge when you become quiet enough to hear them. Not only God's voice, but the authentic self that is created within you. That voice has never disappeared. It's always been there, but it's just been buried underneath years of noise, obligation, fear, and survival. As you heal, and as you regulate your nervous system, you connect with your true identity. You begin hearing again. You begin trusting yourself again. Not because you're relying only on yourself, but because the Spirit of God has always been faithfully leading you from within. We just need to slow down and be quiet enough to hear. So today, I want to leave you with one question. What has been quietly whispering to your heart that you've been too busy, too afraid, or too distracted to hear? Maybe today is the day to stop asking God to shout or bring something uh, big and loud to you, but just to become still enough to hear his whisper. So if this message encouraged you, I'd love for you to share in the comments, what whisper have you been sensing lately? Sometimes putting it into words is the first act of trust. And when our thoughts become words, they become actions. Until next time, remember this: when your soul becomes quiet, your path becomes clearer. Thank you for listening and subscribing. I love you all and would love to hear how this message connects for you. Until next time, live excellently, love lavishly, and give generously. Ciao.